Some family secrets should never be uncovered, and in this story, one secret destroys everything. Welcome to a world where grief becomes a curse and love turns into terror. Hereditary isn't just a horror film, it's an emotional breakdown disguised as a haunting. If you think you've seen scary before, think again. This movie doesn't come at you with cheap jump scares. It creeps under your skin. It whispers dread. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. In today's video, we're diving deep into Hereditary, a film that shocked audiences and redefined modern horror. We'll uncover how it blends family tragedy with supernatural horror. We'll explore powerful performances, chilling symbolism, and disturbing themes you may have missed. And most importantly, we'll reveal what makes this movie feel so real and so terrifying. You'll discover lesser-known facts about the film's hidden meanings, psychological layers, and the twisted legacy that follows the characters. If you're a fan of smart horror with emotional depth, you need to see this through to the very end. So grab a light, because things are about to get dark. Welcome to Movies Review. If you're into creepy stories, deep movie breakdowns, and unsettling truths hidden behind the screen, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next terrifying review. Let's begin. In 2018, a new name in horror cinema quietly shook the genre: Ari Aster. Hereditary was his directorial debut, but there was nothing beginner about it. The moment it premiered, critics and viewers realized this wasn't just another haunted house story. Aster delivered a cold, psychological storm wrapped in family drama. His style is patient and merciless. Every shot lingers longer than you'd expect. Every silence feels like it's hiding something. And behind that slow pace, something awful is waiting to explode. At the center of Hereditary is an unforgettable cast. Toni Collette plays Annie, a mother unraveling under the weight of grief. Her performance is intense, terrifying, and deeply human. Alex Wolff plays Peter, her teenage son, caught in a storm he can't understand. Millie Shapiro plays Charlie, a quiet, unsettling girl whose presence alone makes you uneasy. And Gabriel Byrne plays Steve, the calm and rational father, trying to hold everything together. From the very first screening, Hereditary left a lasting mark. Critics praised it as one of the most original horror films in years. Audiences were divided. Some were shocked, others disturbed, but no one left feeling unchanged. It wasn't the kind of film people watched once and forgot. It stayed, it lingered, it dug into your memory like a whisper you can't shake. Over time, it gained a reputation as one of the most chilling psychological horror movies of the decade. A film that traded loud scares for quiet suffering. And that's exactly what made it so packed. The Graham family looks ordinary on the surface, but Hereditary quickly peels that surface away. The story begins with a funeral. Ellen, the family's grandmother, has died. She was distant, secretive, and her relationship with Annie was strained at best. But her death marks more than just grief. It's the beginning of a chain reaction that none of them can stop. Annie is a miniature artist who creates tiny models of real-life scenes. Her work is precise, controlled, but her life, the opposite. Her husband Steve is supportive but tired. He watches his wife and children drift apart without knowing how to fix it. Their son Peter is a typical teen until tragedy strikes. And then there's Charlie, quiet, strange, creative, and always watching. From the beginning, we sense that this family is not okay. They are fragile like Annie's tiny models, delicate and ready to collapse. The death of Ellen doesn't bring them together, it quietly tears them apart. The house grows colder, the silence between them grows louder. And even though nothing supernatural has happened yet, the dread is already there. The early part of Hereditary isn't fast, it doesn't rush. It creeps, like something crawling beneath the floorboards, waiting. Grief does strange things. It changes people. And in Hereditary, grief becomes a poison that seeps into every corner of the Graham home. Annie, already carrying the weight of a troubled past, begins to crack. She sleepwalks, she screams in silence. Her pain doesn't explode, it leaks and it spreads. Peter is drowning in guilt after a sudden, violent tragedy rocks the family, a moment he can't undo. He becomes hollow, numb, haunted by what happened. He can't talk to his parents, he can't even face himself. His eyes tell the story. He's not really there anymore. Steve tries to be the anchor, but even he begins to drift. He watches his wife spiral and his son shut down, and he realizes something is deeply wrong. But logic can't fix this. No one in this family is truly communicating. Their pain isolates them, and when they do speak, it's often filled with rage or blame. The tension becomes unbearable. Dinner scenes feel like pressure cookers. Even the walls seem to be listening. You start to feel like the house is feeding off their misery. At this point, Hereditary isn't about ghosts. It's about emotional collapse, about what happens when a family holds in too much pain for too long. The real horror isn't outside, it's in the mind, and it's getting louder. Then, the strange things begin. Annie meets a woman at a grief support group. This woman introduces her to something unthinkable, contacting the dead. It sounds harmless at first, hopeful even, but it opens a door, and once that door is open, there's no going back. Suddenly, things start happening. Objects move on their own. Shadows linger a little too long. Strange symbols appear. Peter begins to see and feel things he can't explain. Annie finds herself in a trance, doing things she doesn't remember. The air in the house feels different, heavier, charged. The characters don't know if they're losing their minds or if something else is taking over. That's the brilliance of Hereditary. It blurs the line between psychological breakdown and supernatural interference. Is Annie mentally ill? Is Peter cursed? Or is something far more ancient and evil pulling the strings? As viewers, we start to question everything. We don't trust what we're seeing, and that confusion becomes part of the terror. The film invites us into a nightmare where the rules aren't clear, and that's exactly how it wants us to feel. Hereditary is layered with meaning. On the surface, it's a ghost story, but underneath, it's about inheritance, not just money or property, but emotional damage, trauma, secrets, pain passed down through generations like a curse. Annie's family history is dark: mental illness, isolation, suicide, and though she tries to separate herself from that legacy, she can't. It follows her, it controls her. Even her art reflects this. Her miniatures show scenes from her own life, like she's trying to organize the chaos. But the more she tries to control it, the more helpless she becomes. The film also uses symbols in subtle, chilling ways. Miniatures represent control, but they also show how small and powerless the characters are. The treehouse, glowing red at night, becomes a place of worship, a place of horror. Symbols etched into walls seem meaningless at first, but reveal something ancient and horrifying as the story unfolds. And grief itself is a theme, deep, raw, and dangerous. In Hereditary, grief opens the door to darkness. Whether that darkness is psychological or demonic is up for debate, but one thing is certain: it consumes. Toni Collette delivers a performance that defines the film. Her portrayal of Annie is raw, unfiltered, and unforgettable. She doesn't just play a grieving mother, she becomes one. Her breakdowns are painful to watch, but impossible to look away from. Every scream, every whisper, every look in her eyes feels real. Alex Wolff is equally powerful. His quiet pain and deep guilt feel genuine. You can see his mental state unravel with each scene. His transformation from an ordinary teen to a haunted soul is subtle but devastating. Director Ari Aster handles everything with precision. His camera movements are slow and deliberate. He doesn't rely on jump scares. Instead, he builds tension through silence, framing, and mood. Every scene is crafted like a painting, with hidden details and quiet dread. The sound design, the music, the editing, all add to the sense that something is very wrong even when nothing is happening. The horror in Hereditary doesn't scream, it whispers. And that's what makes it terrifying. As the film nears its end, all the quiet tension finally erupts. The strange symbols, the unexplained events, the silence, it all leads to a terrifying truth. And when it's revealed, it's worse than you imagined. The final act turns surreal. Reality begins to collapse. Peter is no longer just a grieving son. He's a pawn in something far older and darker. Annie's actions become more disturbing. The house becomes a maze of horror, and the quiet dread turns into full-blown terror. The film doesn't explain everything. It leaves you confused, shaken, and disturbed, but that's what makes it so effective. The horror isn't clean, it's messy, it's chaotic, and it feels real. You're not watching a movie, you're experiencing a breakdown. And by the end, you feel like you've survived something. Hereditary doesn't rely on cheap tricks. It builds a world of pain, fear, and mystery, and then lets it fall apart in front of you. The ending doesn't offer peace. It offers revelation, and it's horrifying. Hereditary didn't just scare people, it changed horror. After its release, more films began exploring emotional depth within horror themes. It helped define a new genre, often called elevated horror or art horror. Films that scare through atmosphere, emotion, and meaning, rather than loud noises. Critics praised its originality, direction, and fearless storytelling. It became a reference point for filmmakers trying to mix grief, trauma, and terror. Even viewers who didn't enjoy it admitted they couldn't forget it. That's the kind of horror Hereditary delivers, the kind that sticks with you. It opened the door for other thoughtful horror films to find success. It proved that audiences were ready for something deeper, more complex, something that didn't explain everything, something that made you think. The legacy of Hereditary isn't just about fear, it's about impact. Emotional, cultural, cinematic. And years later, people are still talking about it. Hereditary is not your typical horror movie. It doesn't chase you with monsters or fill the screen with endless screams. Instead, it sits quietly beside you, slowly twisting your emotions, breaking your expectations, and dragging you into something far more personal and terrifying. This is a story about grief, guilt, and generational pain. It's about what we carry from the people who came before us, and what happens when that weight becomes too much. The supernatural elements are chilling, yes, but it's the emotional depth, the raw performances, and the quiet hopelessness that make this film truly unforgettable. Now, let's be honest, Hereditary isn't for everyone. It's slow, it's intense, and it doesn't hold your hand. But for those who appreciate layered storytelling, smart symbolism, and horror that lingers in, it doesn't just scare you, it gets under your skin, it crawls into your thoughts, and it stays there. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most unsettling horror films of our time. If you found this breakdown interesting, give this video a like. It really helps us reach more horror fans. And don't forget to subscribe to Movies Review for more chilling reviews, haunting summaries, and hidden truths from the darkest corners of cinema. Until next time, keep the lights on.